Hi everybody, Tim here with tonight's episode of Star Trek, a two-parter, Season 6, Episodes 16 and 17, Birthright. So this is a little difficult to review. So the first half, Birthright Part 1, is really interesting. It's a really well-done episode. So it's actually kind of a crossover with Deep Space Nine, which had its debut a few episodes ago when I did Ship in a Bottle. And actually Chain of Command, that two-parter set up Deep Space Nine. So we see Deep Space Nine, and we see some of the different alleyways and stuff like that, the promenade. But the only real characters from Deep Space Nine that we actually see and meet is Dr. Bajir, and Morn kind of has a little cameo in the background. So there's a lot of different plots going on in this. So we see, I like the opening scene because it's Worf and Geordi on Deep Space Nine, and they're getting some food, and Geordi, the replicator or whatever, isn't quite working, and Geordi's like, oh, this is disgusting, and Worf is like, this is delicious, which goes back to what we've seen in previous episodes where Riker's making eggs, and Guinan gives him prune juice, stuff like that. What I like is Geordi says, oh, I'm going to have to talk to O'Brien about this, which I think this would have been a great opportunity to actually have seen O'Brien and maybe even talk about how or why he transferred from the Enterprise to Deep Space Nine. I don't know, I just felt like it was a missed opportunity. From there, it kind of segues into this. It's kind of the branching point. We see Dr. Bajir on the Enterprise, and Data kind of intervenes because Bajir's trying to do an experiment. And this is interesting because this is the first time in the Next Generation we've seen the new Starfleet outfits, which I've kind of commented before in a couple other videos. It looks to me like a lot like the cadet outfit, but I don't know. That's just me. And so, to kind of sum up that subplot really quickly, Bajir has found this piece of technology that he doesn't know what it is, and he's trying to figure out how to work it. And so Geordi and Data help him, but it ends up basically shocking Data. And Data goes into a dreamlike state where he sees a young Dr. Sung, which it's kind of interesting because Brett Spiner played Sung when we saw him die, and then as a really old man, and now we see Brett Spiner without all the makeup as a young Dr. Sung, and he does phenomenal, which, big surprise. And so it's kind of interesting there, and they go kind of back and forth. He goes through it a second time to have a much longer dream, and I'm simplifying this really quick because I don't want this two-part episode to go on forever. He goes through the shock a second time so he can kind of talk to Sung again, and it turns out that this is actually part of his programming that Sung put in there to make him capable of dreams, to further his evolution, if you will. And so it's a really interesting, really well done sequence in the episode, where Data can't get it out of his mind, and he starts doing all these paintings, and he becomes a bird, and it's phenomenal. It's really well done. What's interesting is that for a two-part episode, this subplot is only in part one, and that's it. So it's kind of disappointing, because it would have been kind of interesting to see this continue on. I don't know how. Maybe bring lore into it. I don't know. I feel like they could have stretched it out, but it's just this one part. And personally, I would have wanted to see more of Deep Space Nine. Like I said, I would have wanted to have seen Chief O'Brien, maybe see Sisko. I don't know. I love Dr. Bashir, and I think that's great, but I wanted to see more. Now, during all of this, we see Worf on Deep Space Nine, which this is the first time, and then later on, after the Next Generation ends, Worf joins the crew. So it's kind of interesting. And an alien comes up to Worf, which is played by the amazing James Cromwell. This is I think it's a second time in Star Trek. We'll see him a couple more times, and then he'll go on to play Zefram Cochrane in First Contact. You can't really tell that it's James Cromwell because he's just covered in makeup. And again, he's only in the first part, which I guess he broke his leg, which is why. And this alien says that your father, Moog, is still alive. He survived the attack on Kittimer, and he's being held hostage. And so Worf has this alien take him to that planet, which to me, my first thought would have been to contact Kern, Worf's brother, because they're the sons of Moog, they're brothers, but I don't know, Worf's just like, I'll do it myself. And so Worf goes to this planet, and he realizes that it's Romulans and Klingons living together, and that some Klingons, like, this was actually a different thing. They're like, nobody survived Khitomer and this alien lied to him, but these Klingons have been held captive by the Romulans, and that the Romulans tried to barter with them and like use them, but the Klingon homeworld's like, nope, they're dishonored, you can keep them. And so they asked for mercy, and the Romulans gave it to them and kept them there. And like, the Romulan that initiated all this ended up marrying a Klingon, and over the course of X amount of years, I think it's like 30 years, like, they've had kids and all sorts of stuff. But as this society has been flourishing, they've been like slowly packing away the Klingon heritage and pretending it doesn't exist. And Worf is like, I totally respect the fact that you guys are happy, but you're ignoring your heritage, and that's what Worf has trouble with. So he starts like doing all of his battle yoga stuff, and then telling stories of their heritage and their culture, like all the Kayla stories and stuff like that. Which at this point, we've heard so many Kayla stories. I kind of want to go back to the original series and watch the episode to see the character again, because I feel like I'd be viewing him in a new light. But overall, it's kind of weird, because like, he just kind of destroys this perfect culture that's living in harmony. Like, I get it. He wants these kids to learn about their culture and their heritage, but they're living pretty peacefully, and he just kind of comes in stomping, kicking all the sandcastles. So I don't know how I feel about it. Like, is he in the right to completely destroy this culture, or should he have just left well enough alone and been like, oh, you guys are good, you're good, okay, I'm gonna go back and leave? I don't know. For those who have seen this two-parter, what do you guys think? There's a lot of layers in here to pull apart. Data's dreams, do you think that was a necessary part of this Data's story? Do you like seeing that he is now capable of dreams, knowing like years later he'll get like his emotion chip and stuff like that? Or do you think it was just like a fluffer to kind of stretch this out for a two-part, and that it should never have been made? Do you guys wish there was more Deep Space Nine crossover? Do you think that it was too much and you wish they'd never done it? Do you like Worf's decision in tearing apart this culture, or do you think he should have left it alone? There's a lot to go into. So for those who have seen this one, go ahead, just let it go. What do you guys think about this? Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for Starship Mine.